Good evening, everyone. It's Sunday night of Labor Day weekend, and I'm going through your messages, and I see there's a question about one of your classmates asked, and I thought it was a great question that some of you guys will probably encounter. He asked, there were a couple questions in a row that had a variable on both sides of an inequality, a less than or equal sign or similar. Deciding between subtracting or adding to even up the variable on one side or the other has been unclear. If I get the answer wrong, I usually just reverse the side I thought was correct, and then voila, I get the right answer. Suggestions on what I should reread or practice. So what your classmate is doing here is he would try something, if it didn't get right, he'll try the other way, which is fine, but however, on a test, you only get one chance, right? So that's a great question to ask. So let's figure out, how do you solve something with an inequality, and how can you do it right the first time without just switching your answer if you find out that it's wrong, because you can't just do that on a test. And we want to emphasize on understanding mathematics. And what I love is that he even gave me an example. So I just want to show this to you guys. Like, if you guys ask me a question, I write down what your question is. What is it that's unclear, as he did, and then to continue on with giving me an example that I could help you with. So he gives me an example, and he says, sometimes I'd add 15v to both sides or negative 14v from both sides. So he isn't sure what would be right or wrong, and he would just do both ways and give Alex whatever the correct answer is that they want. So anyways, I wanted to show you what a great question that was and why it was great, because of what he asked and how clear he was with asking the question and giving me an example. So here, let's go ahead and start this problem. It's called solving an inequality. So with this example, you have an inequality sign, and here this is a less than or equal to. So the first step is to treat it like it's an equation. So pretend this is an equal sign. How would you solve an equation? Well, the first thing you do when you solve an equation is you want to decide which side you want your variable. Here, our variable is v, and we want to decide, do we want it on the left side or do we want it on the right side? There's no right or wrong answer to this, and I'm going to show you that regardless of what you decide, you'll end up with the same answer. So let's just make a decision whether we want it on the left side or on the right side. Most of the time, students like it on the left. So let's just try it on the left. So I'm going to decide that v is on the left. We want to gather all of our variables on the left-hand side. So to do this, right now I have negative 15v minus 12 less than or equal to 14v plus 9. So if I want v on the left side, here's v's on the left side. I want this v to also be in the left side. So to bring this over to the left side, I need to subtract v here so that it zeroes out. And whatever I do one side, I must do to the other side. So subtract negative 14v on this side. And as a result, negative 15v minus 14v gives me negative 29v. Okay, I have a negative 12 here. Well, I want all my v's on the left side. Negative 12 does not belong on the left side here. So I'm going to add 12 here in order to zero it out. And whatever you do left side, you must do to the right side. So I'm going to add 12 on this side as well. So as a result, 9 plus 12, when you add that up, gives you 21. So negative 29v right now is less than or equal to 21. All right, so that's exactly what you would do if this was an equation. Decide which side you want your variable, bring all the v's to one side, everything that doesn't have it, bring it to the other side. Okay, now step 2 is where we have to be careful, because this is not an equal sign. This is a less than or equal to. So be careful with the last step. Here, this is the difference between this inequality and this being an equation, is that an inequality, if you're dividing by a negative number, what must you do? You must remember to reverse the inequality sign. So you could call it reverse or switch, whichever way you want to remember it. So you reverse the inequality sign if you're dividing by a negative number. So the last step here, in order to get v to be sitting all by itself, is to get rid of the coefficient negative 29. You want negative 29 to become a positive 1, so you only have one v. So here I have negative 29v is less than or equal to 21. To make this into a positive 21, the last step is to divide it by itself. And if you divide it by itself, the reason why you divide it by itself is because it becomes a positive 1, and that's what you want. You want your v to be sitting all by itself with just a 1v. You don't have to write the number 1, but there's an imaginary 1 there, 1v. So that's what it means to solve for a variable. You want the v to be sitting all by itself. So you have v, and don't forget, if you're dividing by a negative 29 here, you have to do the same thing to the other side, because math is about being balanced, right? Whatever you do one side, you do to the other side. So here I get 21. So the negative could be on top, bottom, or in the middle. So negative 21 over 29. So again, the negative could be top or bottom. It's the same thing. Is this correct? Actually, it's not. What did I forget to do? Oh yeah, I forgot that if I'm dividing by a negative number, which I am, I'm dividing by negative 29, I must remember to reverse or switch the inequality sign. So this is not correct. So what I'm supposed to do with this is I'm supposed to reverse this and actually make it this direction instead. So that is the correct answer, reversing it. And when you read this answer, you always, I put this note here, always read the answer starting from the variable. So here's our variable. If you read this, you would say in words, in English words, v is greater than or equal to negative 21 over 29. V is greater than, because the mouth is bigger here, v is greater than or equal to negative 21 over 29. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now I'm going to do it another way. I'm going to say, instead of v's on the left, I want to show you what if I decided to do v is on the right. So your classmate has asked, well, you know, they would do it from one, decide to bring it on the left or on the right, and it would change their answer, and they wasn't quite sure why. Well, if you did it correctly, it should come to the same answer. So I'm going to show you this. So here I start off with the problem. Okay, and suppose we decided that we want v on the right side. Here we want v on the left. Suppose I say I want v on the right side. So here's 14v plus 9. So I want v on the right side. But I have a negative 15v on the left, so I need to bring this to the right side. So how do I get rid of a negative 15v? So to make it zero out, I'm going to add 15v. So when you add these two together, it becomes a 0. So whatever you do left side, you must do the right side. So as a result, here I get 29v. Right? Okay, so I have the v's on this side. What doesn't belong on the right side is the positive 9. I do not want the 9 there because there's no v. So to get rid of the 9, I'm going to subtract 9. And by doing so, 9 minus 9 becomes 0. So I zero it out. Whatever you do right side, you do the left side. So I subtract 9 here. So on the left side, I get negative 21. And then I have that sign less than or equal to. Right, so in the beginning, the first step is just treat it like an equation and gather all your v's to one side. Okay, so in the second step here, again, we need to, similar to this step here, we want there to be, in front of the v, the coefficient to be 1. So we want 29v to actually become a 1v. So in order for this to become a 1v, we must divide by 29. So negative 21 is less than or equal to 29v. We want this v, 29v, to become a 1v. How do you make this a 1v? You make it a 1v by dividing by the coefficient right there. Because 29 divided by 29 will become 1. So you'll get 1v, or in other words, you could just say v, right? And whatever you do the right side, you must do the left side. So here I divide by 29 as well. So I end up getting negative 21 over 29 on the left side. Now the question is, do I need to reverse the inequality sign just like I did when I did this side? Remember, on this side, we did reverse it because we divided by a negative 29, a negative number. But here we divided by a positive number. So if we divide by a positive number, we leave the inequality sign as is. So that would be the answer to this problem. And you might be looking at this and you might be like, what the heck? That looks like two different answers. I thought Professor Mahan said that it was going to be the same answer. Well, guess what? It is the same answer. And you'll know that when you read it. So read the answer starting from the variable. Here, if I start from the variable, I have v. So I'm going to start from the variable. V is, and notice that they call it the alligator mouth or the inequality sign. The bigger the mouth is facing V, so V is greater than, because the mouth is bigger on the side, V is greater than or equal to negative 29, 1 over 29. V is greater than or equal to negative 21 over 29, which is, guess what? The exact same sentence as we wrote above for this answer. V is greater than or equal to negative 21 over 29. V is greater than or equal to negative 21 over 29. So you could input your answer either way, and this would be correct. Let me know if you have any further questions.